things about the costuming is the fact that it can define your character.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I saw Morgus the Maniac come out in a straitjacket, I knew he was a little bit off and a little bit crazy. And Adrian Hall, very colorful individual that he was, wearing the flowery outfits and that sort of thing that he did, the pink and the leather and the lace type outfit.
And giving fans a flower.
Yes.
The male fans a flower. That psychologically built his character.
Exactly.
You know, here's this homoerotic character that's tantalizing male fans by presenting them a flower. Something very simple, very easy.
Very simple, very easy, very defining. And it evoked an immediate emotion.
Right. Right. And that's the biggest thing about what you're doing, because you either want them to hate you or love you. You don't want them to be meh.
Right, and when Morgus would come out, he'd come out raging out to the ring, strapped into his straitjacket, and people would identify with him like, this is a crazy guy with the music and that sort of thing, and like,
right,
we're really behind him because we're into that.
Right, and think about the original UIW TV production. He wasn't brought to the ring as he was in later years with his mom and dad as his orderlies. He was brought out by another person, a very, very large person in a traditional garb that's immediately recognizable. Tim?
Surgeon's outfit. It was a surgeon.
It was this Dave Coleman as the surgeon. And in his early days, Dave did Jason the Terrible, and he carried a big knife and a hockey mask. And then he transformed into the surgeon. And his presentation was a little bit scary, because here's a guy that was 6'5", probably 350 pounds, wielding a long knife, with his face covered like a surgeon, wearing traditional surgeon gear over top, the scrubs, but then underneath he had his blue singlet and blue tights with the regular white boots.
Immediately it took you back, because you place a lot of faith in your doctors and your surgeons.
Right.
And then you see this guy running around, and it takes you a minute to try and understand, like, oh my gosh, what is this guy up to? He's out of his mind.
Mm-hmm. Right, Doc gives you the Dr. Giggles. You know, I'm worried. I don't know if I want to be sedated under this guy's power.
That's for sure. You know, someone else I'd like to talk about for a minute that gets overlooked a lot, I think, was Sledgehammer McGill.
Right.
Sledgehammer McGill came out there in a regular wrestling uniform, with regular boots and that sort of thing, with a sledgehammer. And his portrayal of the hard-working, down-to-earth, regular person.
The blue-collar man.
The blue-collar man. I think people identified with that too. And you would see a lot of fans at intermission time, they would go up to Sledge and they would talk to him like he's an old buddy.
Right.
I remember seeing people like identify with him and talk to him, and just like they were very comfortable with him. And I even remember fans asking questions about his personal life. And I remember he had a scar on his back.
Right.
And I remember a lot of fans would come out and say, well, what happened to you? Like, express real concern. Like,
right,
what happened to you? Where did you get that scar at? Did you get that wrestling? And that sort of thing. So it was really a real good feel with the fans. It's very down home, very identify with him sort of thing.
Very relatable.
Yes.
Very relatable. Of them, by them, for them. Exactly. I agree, 100%. You took a minute to endear yourself to the fans so that they would remember you during your match, this card, and if you were running a series of cards like we did in TV at that time, it would draw people in, and then they would get behind him. The promoters would see that. They would hear that through the fans' reaction, because that was what every promoter wanted. They didn't, remember, we said it. You either wanted to be hated or loved. You never wanted them to be mid. You never wanted to hear the crickets. So when the promoters heard either that high-octane booing or that high-octane cheering, they knew that they had something that they could work with, and they were willing to give you a leeway, a little more. And they would feed you and feed you and feed you and try and get you to the top and see where it went. That was extremely important in how you built who you were at that time.
Oh, yes. I agree with that. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of Pin. I'm so screwed up. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pin, and we look forward to joining you again next week on our second part of this episode regarding
Tools of the trade. That's it.
Tools of the trade. tools of the trade. We look forward to joining you next week on this. We look forward to joining you next week on the second part of this. We look forward to joining you next week on the second part of this episode. We look forward to joining you next week. I'm crazy here. We look forward to joining you next week on this episode.
Hey,
Stop.
You were the last surgeon on Earth, and
That's right.
even if my
Ladies and,
liver was gangrene, I wouldn't let him touch me.
ladies and gentlemen, we're here to tell you that no matter what he calls himself, nobody's writing malpractice insurance for this guy. And he's not in here against some lightweight.
No,
I mean,
no way
Rasta the
by any
VooDoo
means.
man.
This guy is huge and very, very scary. And right now, looks like he's praying to the Jamaican gods, perhaps.
This is no good.
The surgeon not wasting any time, not about to wait for Rasta to finish his little religious ceremony, taking him across to the other corner, charges in with an elbow. I don't know who the fans are going to side with on this one.
Snapmare there. And Dave the Wave.
Pretty quiet.
Yeah, it is pretty quiet. I think they're stunned. They were watching Rasta the VooDoo man's religious ceremony or whatever he was going through, and then of course he got attacked from behind by the surgeon.
Surgeon now twisting and turning at the neck of Rasta, pounding with an elbow to the forehead. Reverse chin lock now, trying to wear the big guy down.
Dave,
we saw
the way
this earlier.
I would venture a guess that the surgeon will pay later on for interrupting the ritual which the Rasta the VooDoo man just went through.
I wouldn't want to be in the surgeon's shoes. I don't think
No.
Rasta's the kind of guy you want to get upset.
No, as you can see, he's beginning to give the surgeon the evil eye right now, and I don't think he's far away from seeking retribution from the surgeon.
He comes to us from Montego Bay, Jamaica. Wouldn't mind
No, I'd
being
like
there
to be.
myself
No,
right
not in this kind of weather, Dave. But anyway, Rasta the VooDoo man has always been a tough customer. Been in the UIW since the inception, much like the surgeon, and he will always make a comeback, as he's proving right now.
Rasta doing a little surgery of his own. Breaking the rules in the process. That was definitely a low blow. No
Yeah.
doubt about it. Now, Rasta in control, setting him up for a body slam. No, suplex. Took him over hard.
He sure did, Dave the
Both
Wave.
of these men, two of the biggest competitors in the UIW.
Right.
I'd like to see Rasta take on Bam Bam Bigelow.
That would be a great
that
match,
would be
Dave the Wave.
interesting.
I have seen Rasta, of course, in other wrestling federations, take on some really huge people, and I mean, pound for pound, he is a strong man. He'll stand in there against anybody.
The surgeon finding out firsthand just how strong Rasta really is as he pounds away. Beal throw right out of the corner.
Oh, and the surgeon doesn't think he needs Rasta doesn't think he needs a referee either.
Rasta's got the surgeon on the ropes. He's got 5 to break it. Still to come, folks, in this hour. Axel Rotten, Morgus the Maniac, Insatiable Adrian Hall, Rip Sawyer,
And
much more.
every-
Stick around.
Everyone a colorful character in their own right, Dave the Wave. And that's what you can expect from Universal Independent Wrestling.
Where the future of professional wrestling is right here and now today. These are the future stars, folks. Rasta perhaps seeing stars there.
Yeah,
Hit the corner pretty hard, and now the surgeon.
Doing a little cutting on Rasta there in the
throat.
corner.
Perhaps trying to cut a tracheotomy with his fingernails.
That's what it looks like.
Wait a minute. The
Oh.
referee is arguing with the surgeon while Rasta, he picked up that cane, that VooDoo cane, and
Cane.
stabbed him right in the throat. The
Give it a
referee's
shot.
calling for the bell. It's going to be a disqualification, no doubt.
Well, I thought they were moving along
Oh, that
pretty
referee,
good.
I'd get out of there. This guy's
Yeah. He's
out of
ready.
control. Oh,
we
surgeon
go.
caught it.
Look at this
He's
in a
got,
boot.
He's
Breaks the
broke it right
cane
in
in
half.
half. Rasta's back, and he's heading for the ropes and out of the ring. Rasta
definitely-
cannot believe this.
That's his pride and joy, that ceremonial
By disqualification,
stick.
the surgeon.
Dave the Wave, that was a quick turn of events. I can't believe the surgeon pulled it out like that.
Go back. Let's go back.